Okay. So see, I'll read the numerical, maybe slight dark, you can find it. A coil of resistance 10 ohm. Below circuit is there, you can check the values. A coil of resistance 10 ohm, inductance 0.1 Henry is connected in series with 150 microfarad capacitor across 200 volt 50 hertz AC supply. Calculate impedance, then current, power factor, total power consumed, voltage across coil and capacitor, and phasor diagram. Okay, easy as sum. Only in the formula you have to put the value because RLC is given to you. And voltage is given. Okay, so we'll calculate all parameters. L is given to you 0.1 Henry. Can you calculate XL? And frequency is also given 50 hertz. Can you calculate XL?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you can calculate XL. So XL you will get 31.42 ohm. Next one, capacitance is given 150 microfarad and frequency you know. So can you calculate XC? Using formula 1 divided by omega C, that is 1 divided by 2 pi FC. Okay, that will be again in ohm. Now, what is the formula of Z? Yes, for series RLC. Now, can you tell me whether it is more inductive or more capacitive?
More inductive.
Very good,
More
more
inductive.
inductive, right? Because XL is greater than XC. So what do you think? Total current will lag or total current will lead total voltage? More inductive hai.
Total current will lag.
Correct, very good. Total current will lag total voltage. So phi value you will get positive or negative?
Positive.
Positive. And Z, what is the formula for Z? R plus J XL minus XC, means whatever the Z you will calculate, its imaginary part will be positive or negative. As XL is greater, positive. Very good. Okay. So Z formula all of you know, R plus J XL minus XC. Okay. So put here value. This is the Z in rectangular form. We got it. If required, using calculator, you can convert it into the polar form. Okay, now to calculate the power factor, we require power factor angle. So whatever the Z you got, do tan inverse of imaginary part upon real part, or that, then phi you will get take cos phi, or another option is convert it into polar form. Whatever is the angle you will get, that will be the power factor angle, and take cosine of that angle. Okay, so here Z in polar form you will get like this. So this is the power factor angle. Everyone keep in your mind. Z in rectangular form, if you know, you can convert it into the polar form. Once you convert it into the polar form, whatever is the angle of Z, same you can directly write is the power factor angle phi. Okay, and take cos of that, you will get the power factor. So here you can see cos phi, and as XL is more inductive, so total current will lag total voltage. So nature of power factor 0.7 lagging. Okay, now total voltage you know 200. If nothing is given, consider at an angle of 0 degree. Okay, sometimes see in exam current only magnitude is given 11, 12, 13 and 14. So directly you can do 200 divided by 14.28. So answer is 14. But if options given to you are in not in terms of magnitude, in terms of polar form, means magnitude also and angle also, then whatever is the voltage, total current is total voltage divided by total impedance. Total impedance we know in polar form. Okay, voltage also we want in polar form. Magnitude of voltage you know, RMS value 200 volt. So nothing is given, consider directly at an angle of 0 degree. Okay, so 14 is the magnitude, and whatever is the Z angle from numerator, it will from denominator you have to shift in numerator, its sign will change, so minus. Okay, so this is the current you got. Total impedance, total current, phi, power factor, power consumed. What is the formula for active power, true power, real power, power consumed, power dissipated? What is the formula?
VI cos phi.
VI cos phi, correct. Unit is What is the unit for active power? Speak loudly.
Watt.
Watts, correct, very good. Okay, so using this here V and I, which one value you can use?
RMS.
RMS only, don't use here peak while calculating active, reactive and apparent power. Okay, now voltage across coil, voltage across capacitor. So how you can calculate voltage across coil and voltage across capacitor? Voltage across capacitor, see here everyone, I into XC, isn't it? Voltage across capacitor is the formula. So XC we know. Okay, I in which form? See, voltage across coil and voltage across capacitor, you will get asked only in terms of magnitude. No one will ask you in terms of polar form, first thing. But still, so in terms of polar form, very easy. Current magnitude 14, XC is 21.22. Multiply it 297.08 volt. And what's about voltage across coil? Coil means what? It's a combination of R and L. Okay. So current is, magnitude is this one. And how you can find out the magnitude of coil? Square root of R square plus XL square. Magnitude of coil, that impedance R square plus XL square. This point everyone got? Yes. Impedance of coil will be what? R square plus XL square. You will get it 32.97. R you know, XL you know, and take R square plus XL square and its square root. So you will get what? What is this? Can anyone tell me? Square root of R square plus XL square is what?
Impedance of coil.
Very good. Impedance of coil. Very good. Right. It's the impedance of coil. You will get it 32.97. So multiply, you will get 461 point something volt. Okay. But still, if you get as mostly not, no one will ask you voltage drop across any component in terms of polar. But still, if you get asked, we'll tell you for current, just now we have calculated in polar form. See here, this one calculation. So current we know in polar form. Okay, in both the formulas here. Current in polar form we know. Now this one R plus J XL hai. So very easy. Put value of R, put value of XL. You will get in rectangular form, and rectangular using calculator you can convert to polar. Okay, so here current also in polar, and this impedance of coil is also in polar. So magnitude you can multiply. So this one you will get 461.58, isn't it? And what you have to do with angles? Magnitude we can multiply. Right. You can add or subtract depending on the sign. So both are positive. So here simply the addition. Okay. So voltage across coil is this clear? Now which one part left? Voltage across capacitor, I into XC. So I in polar form we know, that you write down, and XC value you know, isn't it? So XC magnitude, if you know what is its rectangular or polar form, XC always comes along negative imaginary axis. So it is minus JXC is a rectangular form. Real part is 0. 0 minus JXC is a rectangular form. And if you convert it into polar form, what you will get? XC at an angle of minus 90 degree. Whenever real part is 0 and imaginary part with minus sign. So whatever is the imaginary part, that is the magnitude, and minus sign is there. Imaginary part is minus. That's why minus 90 degree angle you will get if real part is 0. Okay. So XC at an angle of minus 90 degree is the polar form. Okay. So see here, because we wanted to do here multiplication, terms must be in polar. So see XC this one and minus 90 degree. So same thing now, magnitude you can multiply, you will get it 297 point something. Okay, and angle you can add, both are negative. So resultant will be having negative sign, and then minus minus we do plus. So addition of these two angles. Okay, got it everyone? This one calculation, any difficulty with this? Voltage across coil and voltage across capacitor? Huh? Okay. Okay. Last sum on this topic we'll see of different. See here, a coil of power factor 0.6 is in series with 100 microfarad capacitor. Coil of power factor 0.6. Power factor of coil is 0.6 and not 0. What does it mean? This coil is purely inductive you have to consider, or some resistance also of coil you have to consider along with inductance. If हाँ right, अगर कॉइल प्योरली इंडक्टिव है तो पावर फैक्टर कितना आएगा उसका? 0. हाँ, okay. So here it is given power factor is not 0 and it is 0.6, means obviously resistance is there in series with the inductance. Okay, capacitance. So this is the coil which is connected in series with capacitor 100 microfarad. When connected to 50 hertz supply, when connected to 50 hertz supply, potential difference across coil is equal to potential difference across capacitance. V coil and VC, these two are equal for 50 hertz. Find resistance and inductance of a coil. Okay, so equate these two. Equate these two. What is V coil? Yes, V coil will be what? What is the formula for V coil?
I into impedance.
Z coil, correct. And VC will be I into XC. Equate it. So what you will get? Z coil and XC are equal. And capacitance value is given 100 microfarad. Frequency is given 50 hertz. Using this, you can calculate XC, 31.83 ohm. So same will be the Z coil. Isn't it? Okay. Now Z coil you got. Coil power factor, is it given? Coil power factor 0.6. It is given. So using this, you can calculate phi. Take cos inverse of 0.6. You will get 53.13. Okay. So Z magnitude you got. And what will be its angle? Yes.
3.1.
Right. 53.13. Because cos phi is given. Means Z. Now, do we get in polar form? Do we got? Okay. Now, once we got Z coil in polar form, using calculator, you can convert it into rectangular. And once you convert it into rectangular form, what will be its real part? What will be real part? Z coil it is R plus J XL. Real part will be resistance of coil. And imaginary means 19.09 ohm. Okay. And imaginary part will be XL, that is 25.47 ohm. Once you know XL, can you calculate L?
Yes.
X. Okay. Got the sum? Any difficulty with this?
No,
Excuse me, please, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, I think I have a better method to do this. I mean, can I share it?
Yes, sure. You can.
I was just saying that instead of converting the Z of coil from polar into this Cartesian form, we can simply use the formula cos phi is equal to R by Z. So R by Z is equal to 0.6. And also magnitude wise, Z coil is equal to R square plus XL square.
Right. Correct. Very good. That one a method also you can use.
So
Correct.
we
It
can
is.
solve with the linear equations and that will be easier
Very good.
for someone who doesn't have calculators.
Yes. Very good. That one also the option. Here, see impedance triangle. I'll draw here phi. Along this will come. Suppose it is related to coil, na? So Z coil it will come, isn't it? Here R and here XL. Okay. So cos phi you can take. Very good. R by Z coil. Okay. So cos phi we know. R. What's about R then? Cos phi we know. Z we know, right? Correct. Very good. Okay, so cos phi is R by Z. So cos phi we know and Z coil we know magnitude 31.83. So using that you will get XL, isn't it? Now R you know, XL you know. Correct. Very good. That is also the option you can use. Very good. Okay. So any method you can use, whatever convenient to use, either this one or the another one, whatever that student wrote. Okay. Now, only one part is left. That is the yesterday we have started with power factor improvement, isn't it? So some part I told you. Ideal value of cos phi is 1. Power factor, what is expected ideally, like efficiency, what we expect, it must be, what is the ideal value of efficiency? 100%. Similarly, ideal value of power factor is 1. So if power factor is about 0.8, above 0.9, so that is called as good power factor. But if power factor is less than 0.8, then that is called as bad power factor, poor power factor. Okay. So I told you yesterday, if power factor, it is observed in control room, power factor meter is there, like in our college backside of workshop, control room is there. In that control room you can find switch is there to make on and off supply to every building, ABCD, marine management, isn't it? View. So that using that switches you can make supply on and off of every building, workshop also. Then there you can find current also it display. Current also it display in every phase, total current. Again, voltage also you can check there. Along with that, power factor meter is also there. Means what is the power factor, that also it display. And there, if it is observed power factor is less than 0.8, 0.9, then what is done? There one switch is there to switch on the capacitor bank. The moment capacitor bank get connected, we have seen for capacitance Q is negative. Why? Because if it is a series RC, suppose we have seen Z, its imaginary part is negative, so phi we get negative, isn't it? So a capacitor, it supply negative reactive volt ampere, VI sin phi. So that's why what happens, as it supply negative reactive volt ampere, so whenever angle between voltage and current, if suppose it is 85 degree, if it is 85 degree, then as you switch on capacitor bank and capacitor supply negative reactive volt ampere, XL is along positive real axis, XC is along negative imaginary axis, isn't it? So because of it, as capacitor is supplying negative reactive volt ampere, so XL and XC opposite to each other, isn't it? So because of that, what happens? This angle phi get minimized. Okay, so suppose 85 to आता है 10 degree के ऊपर, 10 degree. So this is the voltage along this is current. So the moment you switch on capacitor bank, this angle get reduced from 85 to suppose 10 degree. And what is cos of 10 degree? Approximately 0.9 के आसपास कुछ तो आता होगा. Okay, between 0.9 to 1. Okay, so what does cos phi means? What if phi is less, cos phi is more, and maximum value of cos phi is 1. So this is called as power factor improvement. Now why it is required, why there is a need for power factor improvement? If throughout the month our college maintained power factor nearly equal to 1, above 0.9, 1 unity. So what MSCB does, whatever is the total college bill, suppose 7 lakh. So it gives 5% discount in it. Okay. Now why there is a need to keep a power factor nearly equal to 1? Because during practical also I told you, whatever is the backside of workshop, you can find the distribution transformer. To that distribution transformer, electricity reaches on primary side at 22 kV, and on secondary side, that step down transformer, it reduces voltage to 420 volt, 3-phase it is. Okay, so whatever the electricity comes on primary at 22 kV till primary of transformer, that get 100% utilized on secondary side of transformer if power factor is nearly equal to 1. And that's why MSEB gives discount. Otherwise, there will be a wastage of electricity. And that's why MSEB gives discount in electricity bill if throughout the month you are going to keep power factor nearly equal to 1. Okay, this is about the power factor improvement. Now here we have finished with the second unit. Okay, so it's unit 3, single phase transformer. In your syllabus, single phase transformer is there, not a 3 phase. Very brief introduction about 3 phase transformer is there. We'll see that. Okay, so single phase in transformer. Now transformer application is, it is used to step up and step down the voltage. What is the application of transformer? It is used to step up and step down the voltage. If you see the system from generation station up to distribution, you will find step up transformer is also there, step down transformer is also there to step up and to step down the voltage. Now in your from generation up to distribution, you will find 3 phase transformers are there. Okay, in your syllabus single phase transformer is included. Now this transformer, it works on AC. It works on AC means what? Input is in the form of AC and output is also in the form of AC. Input and output both are in the form of AC. Now what is the difference between single phase and 3 phase transformer from construction point of view? Major difference is, whenever I say it's a single phase transformer, so single winding is there on primary, single winding there on secondary. But if it is a 3 phase transformer, means 3 windings are there on primary connected either in star or delta, and 3 windings are there on secondary connected in star or delta. Okay. Now, first of all, construction will tell you. Now here transformer, important part is its core, magnetic core. This one is a square or rectangular shape. See like this. Like this square or rectangular shape magnetic core. It is made up of mostly silicon steel. Okay, and on it you can find, this is the primary winding with N1 number of turns. On another side limb, secondary winding with N2 number of turns. Okay, so which one is primary, which one is secondary? So the winding to which you give input is called as primary, and the winding across which you get output is called as secondary winding. Okay, both the windings, this primary winding N1 turns, secondary winding N2 turns, both are made up of copper and they are insulated with some insulating material. Thickness of insulation, it depends on at what voltage you are using that primary winding or secondary winding. Okay, so this is about the windings. So all of you can see across primary winding here, which one source is connected. This is the symbol for which source?
AC source.
Very good, AC voltage source, isn't it? So AC voltage source is connected across primary winding. Primary winding is having N1 number of turns. Okay, and then output you will get across N2 number of turns, and that's why this one is called here as the secondary winding. Now, what's about the core? This one core. It is made up of silicon steel. Now, all of you know why we use copper or aluminum conductor for the flow of current, because they offer very less opposition to the flow of current as their conductivity is more, isn't it? Copper is having more conductivity than aluminum. So resistance of copper is less than aluminum. That's why we use them for the flow of current in electric circuit. Now, similarly, what's about the material which is used for the flow of flux? You take one conductor. Suppose like this is the strut conductor. Through this, I'm going to pass current. What happens? What it produces around it? Whenever through any conductor you pass the current, what happens? What it produces around it?
magnetic field.
Very good. It produces magnetic field. If you are passing DC current, which is having constant magnitude and constant direction, then whatever the magnetic field produced, that will be stationary, isn't it? If you are passing AC current through this conductor, its magnitude and direction continuously changes. AC current. So whenever you pass AC current through a conductor, around it, it produces changing magnetic field, isn't it? How can we find out the direction? Whenever a current carrying conductor round it produces magnetic field. How to find out its direction? What we use?
Ma'am, right
hand.
hand rule.
Very good. Right hand thumb rule. Okay. So any current carrying conductor around it, it produces magnetic field. If DC current you are passing, it will produce stationary magnetic field. If AC current you are passing, then it will produce changing magnetic field, which is not stationary. Now, whatever is the magnetic field produced around a current carrying conductor, its direction you can find out by using right hand thumb rule. Okay, so what is it, right hand thumb rule? Consider a conductor. Suppose it's a cut section of a conductor front view, and it is carrying current away from observer. Away from observer means what? Cross symbol is used. Arrow conventions are used. Arrow conventions means what? Consider a arrow moving away from you. What you can see, its tail. So it will be a cross. So cross here indicates the direction of current. Means current is moving away from observer. Got it? Another thing is, consider arrow moving toward you. Whenever arrow moving toward you, what you can see, its tip. Means it will look like a dot, isn't it? So whenever current is moving toward observer, so dot convention is used. So cross and dot conventions clear. Through any conductor, whenever current is moving away from observer, that is represented by cross, and whenever current is moving toward the observer, that is represented by dot. Okay, so now consider current is moving away from observer. So use current through this conductor is moving away from the observer. This conductor, you assume it is parallel to ground. Horizontal you are holding, straight it is, okay, and current you are passing through that, and that current is moving away from observer, that is away from you. Means cross convention I'll use for that to represent current moving away from observer. Now point the thumb of right hand in the direction of current, that is away from you, and wrap the fingers. In which direction you are wrapping the fingers? Clockwise or anti-clockwise? Apply here right hand thumb rule. Point the thumb. Clockwise. Very good. Very good. So, whatever this conductor, it is carrying current away from you, and round it, it will produce magnetic field. Its direction will be in clockwise direction. So, round this current carrying conductor in clockwise direction, magnetic field will get produced. Okay. Same is the thing for reverse case. Consider that conductor is carrying current toward you. Toward you means dot convention. Then use the right hand thumb rule. Point the thumb toward you. Okay, that is in the direction of current, means toward you, and wrap the fingers. In which direction you are wrapping the fingers?
Anti-clockwise.
Anti-clockwise, very good. So here in anti-clockwise direction, magnetic field will get produced around this current carrying conductor. Right hand thumb rule. Okay. Now this is about the straight conductor. Now consider one solenoid you are going to take. Solenoid means all of you know, one magnetic material, and round it we wound coil. And when that coil, when current you pass through that coil, around it, it produces magnetic field, electromagnet, isn't it? So see, now you assume, ये जो मैंने first one कॉपर वायर ड्रॉ किया है ना, यहाँ से करंट एंटर हो रहा है. स्क्वायर रेक्टेंगुलर वन इज अ मैग्नेटिक मटेरियल. ठीक है, उसके ऊपर मैंने एक कॉइल बाउंड किया है. इसके ऊपर मैंने एक कॉइल बाउंड किया है. So whatever the coil I started to wound, its first turn is above magnetic core. And now you tell me in which direction it is wound. Okay, so like this it is, like this, isn't it? Means can you tell me here what will be the direction of flux? यहाँ पे reverse करना है. Fingers of right hand you wrap in the direction, the same direction as that of coil wound. Because if coil is wound in clockwise direction, current also will flow in clockwise direction. If coil is wound in anti-clockwise direction, current also will flow through that coil in anti-clockwise direction. अभी आप current का पाथ देख सकते हो. So wrap the fingers in the direction of coil and tell me thumb is pointing toward right or toward left of right hand.
Toward the left, ma'am.
Very good. Toward left means flux will start from this end, isn't it? Flux will start from this end. Magnetic lines of flux, they will start from left and they will move toward north. Right. Means which one pole will act as a north pole here of this electromagnet? See, this is the direction of flux, isn't it? Because thumb points toward the direction of magnetic field. So this left side of this electromagnet will be acting as a north pole or south pole. Magnetic lines of flux, they start from which pole? Take one electromagnet, it is having two poles. Take one magnet, permanent magnet, two poles, north and south. So magnetic lines of force start from which pole? You have
North to
studied,
south.
right? They start from north and they move towards south, and they can complete its path through magnet also, isn't it? While moving from north to south, they prefer minimum opposition path. They move like a stretched rubber band, and this total number of magnetic lines of force, we call it as a magnetic flux, which is denoted by phi. Unit is Weber. This is called as, then we can say here magnetic field is produced around this electromagnet, isn't it? Okay, so now here can you tell me which one pole will act as a north pole, left side or right side? मैग्नेटिक लाइंस ऑफ फोर्स, हाँ लेफ्ट साइड. यहाँ से मैग्नेटिक लाइंस ऑफ फोर्स स्टार्ट हुई है. सो ये जो मैग्नेट है इसका ये लेफ्ट साइड का जो पोर्शन है दैट विल एक्ट एज अ नॉर्थ पोल एंड राइट साइड पोर्शन विल एक्ट एज अ साउथ पोल. इज दिस क्लियर? हाउ टू अप्लाई राइट हैंड थंब रूल to find out the direction of magnetic field produced around a current carrying conductor or around the electromagnet? Clear? हाँ ठीक है. Okay, done with this. Okay, now next see here. Can you tell me ये जो coil यहाँ पे wound हुई है, this is the called as side link. ये जो square या rectangular shape, this is called as magnetic core of a transformer. It is made up of silicon steel material. So whatever the square or rectangular magnetic core, on it primary and secondary winding are wound in transformer. Now observe the primary winding. These two are called as side links. ये जो है ना इसको बोलते हैं side links of that core. Now these two side links, on both the side links primary and secondary winding are wound. So primary winding you observe, it is wound in which direction? And tell me, apply your right hand thumb rule and see the current. We have connected here AC voltage source. Consider AC current is moving like this, suppose for few seconds, because AC its direction changes. Consider for few seconds like this it is moving. So what will happen with the flux? In which direction flux will flow through the core or through this limb, vertical limb? In which direction flux will flow, upward or downward? Apply right hand.
Upward.
Very good. Wrap the fingers in the direction in which coil is wound. Same will be the direction of current, isn't it? So thumb you can find is pointing in the upward direction. Means through this side link, flux will flow in upward direction, and it will flow like this also. Now why flux is flowing through this core? We'll see. Conductor, I told you, it is used for the flow of current because its conductivity is more, resistance is less, isn't it? Now this is the magnetic material. Core is made up of magnetic material, silicon steel. So this magnetic material, their relative permeability mu r is very high, and as mu r is very high, opposition offered to the flow of flux will be very less. So here you can see away from observer, cross in clockwise direction, magnetic field will produce round it. Dot toward observer, anti-clockwise direction. This is the solenoid, electromagnet, isn't it? Electromagnet, you take magnetic material and round it you wound one coil. So see, current is entering from this end, and from this end it is leaving. Apply right hand thumb rule. You can find here, see, direction of magnetic lines of force. All of you can see. So all lines starting from this end of magnet. That's why this end of magnet will act as a north pole, and this one will act as a south pole, isn't it? Okay. So magnetic lines of force. Now this total magnetic lines of force, we call it as a magnetic flux. It is denoted by phi. Unit is Weber. Now for metals, resistance formula, all of you know metals we use for the flow of current, and aluminum, copper, they offer very less opposition to the flow of current. Formula is R is equals to rho L by A. Similarly, for magnetic materials, they are used like silicon steel, cast iron, cast steel. These are used for the flow of flux. Like copper and aluminum used for the flow of current. Similarly, cast iron, cast steel, silicon steel, these are used for the flow of flux. Why? Why it is so? Like for metal, as copper and aluminum, their resistance is less, and that's why they are used. Similarly, magnetic materials, silicon steel, cast iron, cast steel, their reluctance is less. Reluctance is less, and that's why they are used for the flow of flux. Now here capital S is the reluctance. It is the opposition offered to the flow of flux by magnetic materials. Like in electric circuit, opposition offered to the flow of current by metals, capital R, resistance. Similarly, in magnetic circuits, opposition offered to the flow of flux is reluctance, denoted by capital S. Formula, you can see its derivation and formula not there in your syllabus. Just to understand the thing, why silicon steel is used, I'm using this formula over here. So reluctance is L divided by mu 0 mu r A. All of you can see some similarities are there between electric and magnetic circuit. Like current in electric circuit is equivalent to flux in magnetic circuit. R in electric is equivalent to S. Isn't it? Formula also you can see. Almost same, L by A, L by A. Okay. So there are some few similarities and dissimilarities between electric and magnetic circuit. Okay. So here, what is the formula for reluctance? Reluctance I have written here. It's the opposition to the flow of flux. So what is the formula? L divided by mu 0 mu r A. What is mu 0 mu r? Mu 0 is absolute permeability. Mu r is relative permeability. And this total mu 0 and into mu r is denoted by mu, which is called as the permeability of magnetic material. Okay, mu is equals to mu 0 into mu r. Okay, so whatever this relative permeability of silicon steel is very high, and if mu r is very high in some thousand cities, okay, so if relative from material to material, its value is different. Like resistance for copper, aluminum, silver, gold, different. Then conductivity also. specific resistance also. Similarly here also, mu r from material to material is different. It is very high in some thousands it is. So if mu r is very high, what will be the reluctance?
Low.
Very less, isn't it? If reluctance value is very less, means opposition to the flow of flux also will be very less. Means what? Maximum flux will flow through that material. Okay, got it? Now, if you consider here air, what is the relative permeability of air? It is 1, isn't it? So, which is very less. So, what will be the opposition to the flow of flux by air will be very high, because silicon steel, cast iron, cast steel, these materials having relative permeability about 2000, okay, approximately about 2000. And compared to that, a relative permeability of air 1, which is very, very less. So opposition offered by air to the flow of flux will be very high compared to these materials, but it is not infinity. Means flux can complete its path through air. Okay, but very less percentage of flux will complete its path through air. Maximum flux completes its path through core. Okay, so that's why whatever is the magnetic core of transformer, which is square or rectangular shape, it is made up of silicon steel. Why? Because we are going to use it there for the flow of flux, and we are using silicon steel. Why? Because its relative permeability is very, very high. And as relative permeability of silicon steel is very high, opposition to the flow of flux, that is the reluctance, will be very less. Means whatever is the flux produced by primary winding here, see here AC voltage source you have connected across primary winding turns N1. प्राइमरी वाइंडिंग की जो टर्न है ना वो यहाँ से स्टार्ट होती है. Means primary winding, it is starting from this end. Suppose I will mark it as point A. Then it is having many turns. It can be 100 or in thousands, depending on how much voltage you are going to apply on primary and what is the construction, isn't it? So many turns it is having, and then this is suppose another point. I will mark it as a B. So between A and B, this primary winding is continuous. From A it starts copper conductor, and at B it ends. And between A and B, what we have connected here? AC voltage source. So the moment you switch on AC voltage source, AC current will start to flow through this N1 number of turns. Okay, then it will produce round it magnetic field. That magnetic field produced by N1 number of turns will be changing or stationary. Changing, because you are applying here AC current, isn't it? AC current you are passing through current conductor. So changing magnetic field will get produced around this primary winding. It will produce its own flux. Now, whatever the flux produced by this primary winding, I will show you. See here. What will happen? Some flux here, air is there. Consider karo here air. So air relative permeability is not 0. It is 1. That's why opposition will not be infinity. It is very high, but it will not be infinity. Means flux can complete its path through air also and through core also. Like current always prefers minimum opposition path. Similarly, flux also. These magnetic lines of force, they also prefer always minimum opposition path. So what will happen? Maximum flux kahan se flow hoga? Yes, maximum flux will flow through core or will complete its path through air. Maximum flux. क्या लगता है आप लोगों को? Very good, because core relative permeability very high. Silicon steel, in some thousands it is. Okay, so it will offer very less opposition. What's about air? Its relative permeability 1. So its opposition offered by air is very high. So very less percentage of flux will complete its path through air like this. See. Whatever the flux produced by primary winding, N1 number of turns, very less percentage of flux completes its path through air, and the flux which completes its path through air don't help in producing the output. That's why it is called as leakage flux, and it is very less. It is 1 to 5%. Whatever the flux produced by primary winding, out of that total flux, hardly 1% to 5% flux can complete here its path through air. It don't help in producing the output. That's why it is called as leakage flux. Now what happens with the rest 95% flux? Rest 95% flux, it completes its path through core, and flux completing its path through this magnetic core silicon still helps in producing the output, and that's why it is called as useful flux. Okay, so is this clear to you? What do you mean by leakage flux? What do you mean by useful flux? Leakage flux is the one which completes its path through air, and useful flux is the one which completes its path through core, and maximum percentage of flux will complete its path through core. Now there is a terminology. Now see here, this ideal transformer is the one, actually practically ideal transformer is not possible. It don't exist. You cannot design ideal transformer. Ideal transformer is the one whose copper winding resistance of primary winding, secondary winding, these are made up of copper. Their resistance is marked as R1 and R2. Okay, so primary winding copper resistance R1, secondary winding copper resistance R2. So R1 and R2 are 0. That is the ideal transformer. It is not possible. Okay, secondly, leakage flux is 0. Okay, leakage flux is 0 is the ideal transformer. That is also not possible. Whatever the flux produced by primary winding, 95 to 98% flux only completes its path through core. Rest 2 to 5% flux will be leakage flux. Okay, but the ideal transformer is the one whose leakage flux is 0, but that is not possible practically. So here I have written total flux is equals to leakage flux plus useful flux. Leakage flux which completes its path through air, and useful is which completes its path through core. Okay.